and we walk in, and first thing we see during our inspection is, unlike the material that we use that's crush resistant and up to fire code, we can spot that pretty quick.
Different packages. I mean, how do people know what's going on? I'm thinking, you know what? How can they mess up anything? There's a plug and then a place to vent it out. But
like any home service business, you want to pay attention to red flags.
What are some things from symptoms, so to speak, of a dryer that maybe tell us, hey, we need to call you now, and it may be less expensive for us later?
I took a call yesterday. A guy called. He goes, what do you charge? And I don't want to talk about any competition because I don't even know who it was. But he had a guy come out and tell me I'd be $1,200. Took him 2 or 3 minutes to look at it. He didn't even look at it. Said I'll be $1,200.
I have found some very interesting things behind the dryer.
We've looked for that forever. Welcome to Haystack Help Radio. Thank you so much for being with us today. Hey, it's always good to have our good friends, Mark Witte with Dry Vent Wizard, with us, and Todd Masters as well. So, Mark, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Todd, good to see you, sir.
Likewise. Thank you.
Man, I need one of these cool shirts you guys are wearing. Dry Vent Wizard. I need one of those polos here.
Okay.
Advertise for you. No, but hey, mention real quick, and we mentioned this last time you were here, but, you know, Todd, you came out to our house and did ours, and got us all fixed up, and I'd never even thought about it till I met you guys, just being honest with you. I don't even much walk in our laundry area, but you know, after going through this, and then, you know, the last show you were on, we were talking about the number of fires and different things that this has caused, you know, people. Man, now it's something I really don't have to think about, you know, worry about. And say now, no, hey, every couple of years, have you guys out with our wash loads that we do, and we'll get into that here in just a second. There's so much going on in life, man. It's nice. Anything you can check off the box and say, hey, I have peace of mind about that. That's a good thing, right?
Exactly.
And just where you don't have to think about it. So this time of year, I mean, a lot of people are busy and all, so still, we got to get this on the top of people's minds. This is an important thing, man.
Yeah, so, this time of year, I mean, it's kind of just in the heart of the year. I mean, we're just kind of pacing right along like we normally do this time of year. Right. But, we can always, I think, times a year, I know last fall that kind of people really started thinking about it, you know, getting ready for winter. Mm-hmm. Spring seems to be a little bit the same way too, you know, the spring cleaning, what do I need to do?
Sure.
But we're in a vacation mode right now quite a bit, and people, you know, pretty soon are going to be thinking about getting back to school. Yeah,
no doubt. And that's when the laundry is going to start again.
That'll start again, you know. They'll be doing full loads of clothes instead of, you know, just shorts and swimsuits, you know, for the kids.
Sure.
But I mean, it's always important to get it done. You know, whatever time of year, you kind of go through and do your home checklist, you know, to get it ready for whatever you're doing.
And even I'd suggest this: if you've gotten a new washer and dryer setup over these last couple of years, man, I want to call you guys out just to make sure, as you've said, Todd, before, the installation and stuff is where it's just all done correctly. Because most of us as homeowners, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say most of us, me, I'm thinking, you know what? How can they mess up anything? There's a plug and then a place to vent it out, but they can mess up there, can't they?
Absolutely. I mean, it's no fault to the installers or whatnot, like whatever their training or materials that they have, you know, on hand. They just use what they got. But I've been in many homes where they have a brand new system put in, a brand new set of washer and dryer, and we walk in, and first thing we see during our inspection is, well, that transition is pretty messed up. That's the ducting behind the dryer, and by messed up, I say either it's not up to fire code. It's a foil transition that's been crushed when it was pushed back. Mm-hmm. And so unlike the material that we use that's crush resistant and up to fire code, we can spot that pretty quick, as you know, right when we walk in the home.
Right. So Mark, let's kind of walk through, and this can be a joint conversation, but let's kind of walk through the different scenarios there, because I've run to a few people and they say, hey, you guys don't talk about price too much. And I say, well, it kind of varies, you know, different things. So I want to try to clear that picture as much as I can of just saying, you know, different packages. I mean, how do people know what's going on? I know you explain it really good once you're there, and they can do it or not do it, but kind of walk us through that.
Well, we start off, everything we do, we start off with what we call a home inspection or inspection, and we have a $49 inspection fee. Okay, and then our technician's going to come out. He's going to do a 10-point inspection, starting up the dryer, making sure it's producing heat. Checking air speeds or wind speeds, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple of measurements. We do that. We also do a visual inspection, as Todd mentioned. The transition. Is it a proper transition flex? Is it crushed? Is it cut? We've seen big gashes in them and all that type. I mean, they get abused behind the dryer there.
Sure.
So we go through all those things, and we put together basically an estimate. And then we sit down with the homeowner and kind of explain each one as to what's going on. But you're going to see our cleans, if it's just a simple clean, that's great. It's going to start about $125 plus the inspection fee. And then we're kind of going to go up from there. And that's generally, they can walk out on ground level, clean it from the outside, the transition, everything's still in good shape and all those things. We're not seeing anything really suspect. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a basic where we start. But it can go up. I mean, if we have to climb a 2-story house, get up on the roof, and and we've seen all kinds of things up there on those terminations and different things. It can get kind of expensive. And then sometimes we've seen have to rebuild the whole system. It's just has 20 turns in it, and it's going clear across the house when it needs to be a little shorter in those scenarios.
Or it's not the right kind of material.
The wrong material. It's PVC, which is supposed to be, metal, and those things, and taped properly. I took a call yesterday. A guy called. He goes, what do you charge? And I don't want to talk about any competition because I don't even know who it was. But he had a guy come out and tell me it'd be $1,200. Took him 2 or 3 minutes to look at it. He didn't even look at it. Said it'll be $1,200 to clean it. And I sat there and go, well, if that's in our scenario, we're pretty much rebuilding your whole system. Man. So, and then he wanted cash only. So there's a couple red flags there. So so like any home service business, you want to pay attention to red flags. Mm-hmm. And our purpose of how we do things is to eliminate any red flags.
Right.
And then we have our done right promise too.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that's one reason they're on the show here, because hopefully after these 12 years or so, the folks we have here on Haystack Help Radio, we've done our due diligence, and we will absolutely 100% vouch for Driving It Wizard and the company there. And like I said, that's why we have them come out and do things even at our home, so we can see exactly what's going on. And telling you, it is a great, great process. Go ahead. You were going to say something there.
Yeah, I was going to say part of our process is that transparency.
Yeah.
Is once we go through that full inspection, and I mean, if it's difficult to find out exactly what's going on, like what the problems are, we've got equipment that we can run through the entire vent line to see exactly what's going on inside of it. But once we finish the inspection, put the list of services together, we'll go over them one by one with the customer to make sure they know exactly why we're recommending it, if it's absolutely necessary or if it's an optional upgrade, and explaining what would happen if we were to skip over some of those today. So we may come to a home that needs a completely new roof vent, or the reason they're struggling with problems is that it's an incorrect roof vent that was installed prior to us getting there. And all right, it's going to be an extra few $100 to replace that, but now you're not going to have any more problems doing laundry.
Sure.
Now it's actually going to dry on the first time. Now you're at a much greater or much lower fire risk, and you're going to have a much greater peace of mind that your family's safe.
Right.
And we'll go over each one of those line items with you, make sure you understand them before getting your approval to start the work that day.
And you kind of mentioned not the right materials, so that brings me, there must be that 4-letter word of code.
Exactly.
There is. Up to code, man, is a phrase none of us like to hear, because usually that means something has changed or wasn't installed correct. And sometimes it is where they just change materials, right? So at the time it was done okay, but then you're seeing, from what I'm picking up from you, is you're seeing some things that were never done okay.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Well, the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a ton of either repairs or reinstalls, and a few of them have been, DIY remodels where the laundry room moved locations in the home. And instead of using the correct up-to-code, steel pipe that has to go in the drywall, they use some flexible vinyl transition or ducting that is okay for a bath fan, but for a dryer vent that's pumping out, a couple hundred degrees of hot, moist air, it's not up to code. It's going to fall apart. It's going to catch fire. It's going to increase fire risk, all that kind of stuff, and attract lint and build up with lint even quicker. So stuff like that is what we specialize in. I've had calls many times of people, reaching out to HVAC companies or to other dryer vent companies, and they only offer the cleaning. And that's what sets us apart, is being able to solve the problem and create a solution to where the family, the home is up to code, it's safe, and, whether they're selling it, they just moved into it, they'll have peace of mind with that.
Once again, Mark Witte is with us. Todd Masters is a dryer vent wizard. Their numbers 720-677-2555. And when you call, let them know you heard him here on Haystack Help Radio. And it's $49 for that. But and I should have asked you this before I put you on pressure on live radio. Can we do the $20 off?
Yeah, for Haystack Radio
for
listeners.
Haystack Help Radio listeners. All right. So if you call and just mention us, and folks, you got to remember. I don't know about when's the last time you filled up your tank, but you know what? For $49 to come out, they're not really making money at that. All right, I'm going to tell you, just with the cost of everything that they have to go through. So, this is a great deal. And, hey, you're not going to waste your time coming out where they can't handle it all. All right, just like Todd was just saying. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, so to speak, where anything to do with this, they're going to be able to take care of. And once again, I had them at our house, and thoroughly glad we did. And I had no idea all that stuff was in there like it was. And you mentioned the last time just some of the, fun side of your job, but you never know what you're going to get every time you pull up to a house, do you?
Yeah, we just had, I think it was last week, our first dead animal inside of a dryer vent that we found. And so had to do some disinfecting and taking out some.
It wasn't a pet they were missing.
It wasn't a pet.
Okay.
No, it was just a rodent. Came in from the outside, wanted to get warm, but I guess couldn't find his way out. And the family, when they called us, it smells like something died when we turn on our dryer. So, and in fact, something did die inside of it.
My goodness. Now, you're talking about some of these different turns and different, what was your terminology when you said there were like 24 different?
Elbows or
elbows,
turns,
yeah. Is that mostly in like older homes that you go to, you see that? Or sometimes is that in some new construction?
Yeah, I've seen it in new construction as well, where the builder this is a newer home built within the last 10 years or so, where the laundry room was, there was an exterior wall maybe 5 feet directly behind it to get to the outside. While that was technically the shortest route, the builder had to put 5 or 6 elbows in order to get around the floor joists to get out. And each one of those 90-degree elbows incurs a 5-foot penalty in terms of the airspeed. And so even though it might only be a straight line of 5 feet, it was actually over 40 feet technically in terms of the linear feet of the airspeed. And so instead of taking a straight 20-foot shot out the back of the home where there weren't any more of those extra penalties, it created this maze for all of the air and the lint to go through. And each one of those elbows can be a spot where lint can build up as well.
Right.
And that's in a new home. So there's been other crazy stuff where it was supposed to go through the roof and they shingled over it or it went into the crawl space or something like that, where it just never exited the home, and that's another piece of the code, is it has to exit out the home because that lint is highly flammable, and you need to get that out.
Right. It's Dryer Vent Wizard. Hey, give them a call. Once again, it's $49 for them to come out. But again, we're going to get you $20 off of that if you'll just mention Haystack Help Radio when you call. Once again, their number is 720-677-2555. And guys, great information. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Much. We got to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Haystack Help Radio. Thank you so much for being with us. Hey, you've been hearing about Dryer Vent Wizard with us now for several months, and hopefully you have called them at 720-677-2555 to have them come out and take a look and get you all safe there in your family. And the last couple of shows we talked about some fires that can cause, and we'll even touch on some of those statistics here in a little bit. But always good to have Mark Witte back with us. He is the owner. Mark, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
And Todd Masters. Todd, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
The in-home technician, right? You're the guy that comes out. All right. Now, we are certainly in a DIY society. I mean, do it yourself. Everybody wants to, and I think, hey, we all want to save as much money as we can today. I mean, it's certainly not growing on trees for any of us, but I can't think of anything that I've tried to do myself where I actually saved money. Okay? I've either broke something else trying to do that, or the time I went and spent and got all the tools, I didn't have the knowledge to do it. Anyway, it just never works out for me. So, do you run into that sometimes where people say, oh, what do you do? A Dryer Vent Wizard? Oh, I can do that myself. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
What are some of the things people really need to consider if they're thinking about that? Okay, and then what are some of the pitfalls that can happen that are not good for them?
Sure. So there are plenty of do-it-yourself kits that you can get off of Amazon or wherever for dryer vent cleaning, and I've seen plenty of them inside someone's home when we get there, and it's funny walking in when you see that kit already on the dryer. And I can look at their face, and I already know that they've had a hard time trying to figure it out or to get it to work. And the most common thing that I've seen with those kits is that they'll come apart inside the vent line. Mm-hmm. And when it comes apart, maybe 15 feet in, or worst case, it snaps. And then there's just a moment of desperation. It's like, all right, what do we do now? And that's when you call us. And I've retrieved a handful of those kits myself. I mean, we've spent the money to get the professional grade equipment to retrieve, materials and whatnot out of there. But if that stuff is left inside the vent line, it's not just air going through the dryer vent.
Sure.
If there's a brush on the end of there that's stuck inside of it, that's just going to build up lint. And not only that, it's going to block all the moisture and water and from the wet clothes. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to see leaks appearing inside the drywall and causing damage to the drywall. And then it's a mess.
And, Mark, sometimes as the owner, you may get this where sometimes in plumbing, electrical especially, people will call and they'll say, well, I had them out there and they were out there 20 minutes. It was $600, whatever. And my first thing I want to say is, first of all, did you have the tools that they had invested to fix what you needed? Okay. Yeah. Did you have the knowledge? Did you have the schooling? Did you have the insurance that comes out? I mean, there's a lot of things. And then I say, would you have felt better if they would have stayed under your cabinet for 2 hours? Would that have made you feel like you got your money's worth more? But my point in saying that is this, that, and I said this earlier on the show, hey, you got a $49 and what do you call it? Inspection fee?
Inspection.
Okay. So for $49, man, when you look at what it cost us for, gas, insurance, good employees, I mean, all those different things, it costs to come out, man, and it costs to have the right tools to do the right job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime you get set up in business, you have insurances, you have employees, you have, and you want to take care of your employees,
sure.
And, you can't, you're not sending them out there paying them $10 an hour. It doesn't work.
No.
You got to come substantially with something and create a culture and give them the kind of benefits, the tools, the vehicles. They don't want to drive a piece of junk van, that might get there or might not get there. So there's certain things as a business that you need to come with. And then, you got the general liability insurances, the workman's compensation, all those different things that or part of it. So $49 does, we're not making money on that. It's basically, okay, we want a little bit of commitment.
Sure.
And so that's what that's about. And almost every service business that is worth anything usually has some kind of service fee.
Right.
And so we think that's a very reasonable one. Like, again, we're not making money on it. I doubt if it's even covering our cost.
Yeah, me too.
It's just pretty much, okay, we want somebody, you need to have a little skin in the game.
Yeah.
And that. So that's for the reasoning for that.
Sure. All right, Todd, so help us out a little bit. Sometimes we go to the doctor only when we feel really, really bad. And what are some things from symptoms, so to speak, of a dryer that maybe tell us, hey, we need to call you now, and it may be less expensive for us later. One, we may not ruin a dryer and have to replace a dryer, may not burn down our house. So what are some early things that you can point out for our listeners to say, hey, if you're seeing this, and this, give us a call?
Sure. Yeah, if you think about laundry and you get immediately frustrated or discouraged because it takes forever to do it, you have a problem with your dryer vent. That's one of the main symptoms, is that it's taking the dryer too long to dry the clothes. Some of the newer models, they'll actually give you a warning or a code on the dryer, like a D80, D90, that's showing you that up to 80%, up to 90% of the vent line is blocked. They have a sensor built into them to where if there's backflow pressure, like it's trying to push air out, but if it's being pushed back into the dryer, then it'll either automatically shut off or it'll flash you the code at the end of the cycle. But when it does that, yeah, obviously it's going to take you forever to do it. Other signs would be if you see lint being built up behind the dryer, just do a quick check. Just poke your head behind the dryer. If you see a bunch of lint back there, then it's either being blown back into it or there's a leak or not a proper seal on that transition ducting. If the dryer is getting too hot, too physically hot to touch, it's working way too hard to try and
would
pump
that be like on the face of the dryer, top, side, where?
All over.
Okay.
So the ones that I've come in contact with, like even just the top of the dryer was too hot. But yeah, all around. If you feel like the laundry room is getting overheated or like you need to open a window because it gets too hot in there when you're doing laundry, it's probably a problem, because all of that hot air should be exiting the home instead of staying inside that room. Smelling burning or even a moldy or a rotten kind of smell. Those are two different types of
Can't be
signs.
good.
No, you shouldn't be smelling anything like that in the first place, but especially the burning sign, there could be lint built up inside the dryer itself on top of the motors and the electrical equipment that's or even the drum that's getting too hot, and that's a pretty dangerous smell when you start smelling something burning like that.
Are you finding appliances are built different today than they used to? Because, man, it seems like, I think of the Maytag guy that used to be sitting there never getting a call because they lasted 20 years. Dude, you get 4 or 5 years out of a washer now or dryer. Yeah, it's pretty good, it seems like. Yeah,
there's one house I went to in Elizabeth that had a 40-year-old dryer that was still working perfect. It had one dial on it.
Simplicity.
Yeah, it was simple and it was doing the job better than a lot of the newer ones that I've seen. But the good news about getting the dryer vent cleaned is that you can extend the lifespan of those dryers.
Yeah, because they ain't cheap.
No, and you don't want to replace them every 3, 4, 5 years. They have built-in warranties on them, for certain parts and that kind of stuff. But if the dryer vent is clogged and it causes the machine to overwork itself and blow some of those parts out, it voids the warranty on it because you weren't taking care of the dryer vent.
Kind of like with an automobile. Hey, you don't do some certain maintenance type things, it's going to void a warranty.
Exactly.
Same thing there.
And even if you have a repair person come out, they'll ask you, all right, when was the last time you had your dryer vent cleaned out? And if your answer is never, then they're not going to warranty the service.
Wow. Now, you mentioned lint behind a dryer. I would think you've pulled back dryers before, and the homeowners look back there and said, "I've never looked back there." That comes out. I mean, you've probably had people like that, right?
Oh yeah, I have found some very interesting things behind the dryer.
We've looked for that forever.
Yep, exactly. I've heard those where like, oh, I lost that about 10 years ago. I never knew it fell back there. But I've also seen some where there was about an inch thick layer of lint behind the dryer that had just been built up and starting to climb up the wall behind the dryer as well.
Wow.
It's like, you really don't check back here.
Yeah, no doubt. And we mentioned, like I say, a couple weeks ago when you guys were on, just about the different fires. And I mean, and I was astounded at those numbers, Mark, of what this one the smallest part in your house probably where you keep a washer and dryer can cause a lot of damage.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
So, and as Todd said, the early warning signs, of taking too long to dry, smelling excess heat, and if it smells burning, then you really got some problems. But just that excess heat, I know when it's time, my wife will even sit there and say, we need to get it done again because, the dryer's taken 2 or 3 times to run.
Sure.
And we just have a short little run. It generally brings itself to the forefront.
Yeah.
Especially unless you're just ignoring it.
Yeah.
And kind of back to the car, if you don't change the oil, your engine's not going to last very long. If you got a dirty air intake, it's not going to run efficient. It's going to take more energy. It's going to possibly ruin the engine and all those things. So it's just kind of, like taking care of your car, taking care of anything around the house.
Sure.
You just need to kind of keep it in the front of your mind when you start seeing some signs that Todd laid out here. You probably need to give us a call and let us come take a look at it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for your time. Always good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
Hey, give them a call, 720-677-2555. Let them know you heard them here on Haystack Help Radio. We'd appreciate that as well. Once again, it is a $49 inspection fee, but we're going to get you $20 off of that when you mention the show. And I promise you, they do great work. And I can personally say you will be glad you had them come out and take care of your dryer vents and get you all cleaned up. So, again, thank you guys for being with us. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.